Maximum alert on the Eastern Front. Subscribe if you believe the West was right in providing Javelin missiles to Ukraine, enabling this lethal ambush against the Russian armored column. Was this the turning point that marked the end of the Russian advance? Or are we witnessing an unstoppable escalation that could spark an even greater war? Stay tuned to discover how the precision of drones and the firepower of anti-tank systems redefined modern warfare. And let us know your opinion. Do you support this type of operation, or do you think it crosses the line of what should be allowed? Russian forces are advancing rapidly toward Ukrainian positions with armored vehicles. The roar of engines, the clatter of tracks, the threat grows closer with every second. Ukrainian soldiers wait in their positions, eyes fixed on drone monitors. Let the target approach. Everything is ready. This convoy includes 2 tanks, an armored personnel carrier, APC, and an MTLB loaded with ammunition. The Russian tanks open fire from a distance, their cannons unleashing shells one after another. One of the tanks lays down a smoke screen in an attempt to disappear, but Ukrainian drones see everything from above. Radios crackle with communication. The enemy advances, the distance shortens, and then the moment arrives. The Russian convoy is now very close. The Ukrainian unit presses the button. The first Javelin missile is launched. It cuts through the sky and strikes its target. The tank is hit. The convoy grinds to a halt. The crew panics and runs from the vehicle, heading toward the MTLB. But the Ukrainian infantry is already preparing the second Javelin. Another shot, a direct hit, a massive explosion. In the distance, a Ukrainian tank takes position. Its cannon rises. Long-range fire begins. The rest of the Russian convoy falls into its sights. The battle is not over. Ukrainian drones take off again. A drone drops a bomb directly onto the APC explosion. An FPV drone dives against a tank. The APC erupts into a fireball. Its internal ammunition detonates in a chain reaction. The sky fills with fire and smoke. The remaining vehicles are next. A UAV drops an explosive onto a fuel tanker truck. The blast triggers the smoke launcher. This Russian convoy is now completely destroyed. But it is not over yet. Another Russian convoy appears, larger and with heavier armor. Engines growl, tracks tear into the ground. As soon as Ukrainian troops detect it, artillery batteries open fire. Explosions shake the earth. Dust clouds rise. The camera footage trembles. The Ukrainians were waiting for this attack. Tanks fire from different angles. The first vehicles of the convoy go up in flames. 6 vehicles remain. 2 of them are tanks. Ukrainian infantry positions itself with their javelins. The first shot, a perfect hit. The personnel carrier vanishes. Successive hits destroy 2 more Russian tanks. Explosions shake the ground. Despite heavy losses, the Russians push forward instead of retreating. The armored vehicles reach the positions. Infantry dismounts. Now the close quarters battle begins. As the armored vehicles pull back, they fire toward the trenches. Ukrainian soldiers fire back from cover. Tension erupts. Russian infantry pushes into the positions. They outnumber the defenders. Ukrainian soldiers calmly await the order. And then it comes. Wait, now launch the FPVs. Suddenly the sky fills. FPV drones swarm the Russian infantry. Explosions erupt one after another. They have no choice but to retreat. But the Russians do not give up. Reinforcements arrive, and a new assault begins. Ukrainian artillery steps in once again. Explosions tear up the ground. Russian infantry reaches the trenches and digs in. It's a complicated moment for Ukraine, but drone operators remain calm. They lock onto the target. Russian troops are clustered together. Another FPV. Armored vehicles retreat quickly. The remaining Russian infantry shelters in bunkers. Advancing becomes impossible. Ukrainian troops fall back smartly. Once the trenches are abandoned, Russian infantry is exposed. Right then, artillery fire begins. Russian infantry is pinned down in their positions. The explosions do not stop. Ukrainian troops return. Some Russian soldiers are now desperate. They drop their weapons and surrender. But the operation is still not over. A Russian tank trying to escape is detected by reconnaissance drones. The operator locks onto the target. The first hit? A direct strike. Smoke rises from the tank and then dissipates. The drone goes in for a second strike. Another hit. This time, the tank bursts into flames. Fire erupts. followed by a massive explosion. Ukrainian forces deploy their tanks first to eliminate the remaining Russian infantry in the area. Tanks act as spearhead units, tasked with breaking enemy resistance and weakening defensive lines. Russian soldiers are positioned in a wooded, uneven terrain of the region. This area is highly suitable for concealment and launching surprise attacks. However, Ukrainian reconnaissance teams detect these positions ahead of time using drones. Ukrainian tanks take positions at a safe distance and begin long-range artillery fire. Ukrainian artillery systems initiate a coordinated bombardment on Russian trenches and fortified positions, combining 155mm howitzers, light mortars, and fragmentation shells. Every shot is adjusted in real time thanks to reconnaissance drone data, ensuring precise hits that collapse sandbags, destroy parapets, and open breaches in enemy defenses. Meanwhile, tanks at long range employ armor-piercing and explosive ammunition, disabling armored vehicles and causing structural damage that blocks counterattack routes and demoralizes enemy crews. A swarm of FPV first-person view drones completes the aerial offensive, dropping small explosive charges on Russian machine guns and observation points. This combined firepower, air, artillery, and armor, breaks the cohesion of the defense, leaving smoking craters and fragmented communication lines. At 9:33, with enemy terrain reduced to rubble, the infantry advance phase begins. Armored personnel carriers, IFVs, move Ukrainian soldiers up to the assault line, covered by tanks that have ceased fire to avoid collateral damage. Descending in staggered formation and guided by thermal sensors and mine detectors, the platoons advance cautiously. One group of light machine guns covers the left flank, while another carries grenade launchers and night vision systems, ready for close-quarters combat. Once they set foot on cleared ground, clearing teams proceed to neutralize isolated resistance points. With smoke grenades enabling flanking maneuvers and demolition charges to breach bunkers, they clear out dugouts and strongholds. Each structure is inspected first with telescopic sights before ordering the assault, minimizing risks. After the final exchange of fire, the soldiers declare the area secured. In the following minutes, the wounded are treated and prisoners guarded. Engineers defuse remaining explosives, and mixed patrols are deployed to guard the new defensive line. With the sector under control, reserve units move up to consolidate positions and prepare for the next objective. This operation, based on the combination of precision artillery, armor, and drones, demonstrates the effectiveness of multi-dimensional warfare and reinforces the Ukrainian front line with a secure, well-planned advance. Reconnaissance teams advance meticulously through every inch of captured terrain. They inspect trenches hidden behind earth mounds, search shelters camouflaged in the underbrush, and check forest corners with flashlights and thermal sensors. Every trench is searched for signs of enemy presence, recent shell casings, footprints in the mud, detonation wires. Every clue is documented and neutralized. The few Russian soldiers who remain entrenched attempt to resist using fragmentation grenades and bursts of automatic rifle fire. But their small numbers and Ukraine's total control of the airspace with drones cripple their ability to maneuver. The rugged terrain, filled with natural obstacles, makes the advance a constant challenge for both sides. Every misstep can expose a soldier to enemy fire or a pre-placed mine. At 11:44, the fighting is still ongoing, but the tactical superiority of the defenders begins to prevail. In a series of short, explosive skirmishes, Ukrainian units consolidate their positions with coordinated light mortar fire and precision shots from machine guns positioned on elevated points. A grenade exchange behind an improvised wall ends in favor of the defenders, who take control of the main trench and force the remnants of the enemy platoon to surrender or flee in disorder. When the last grenade explodes, silence returns to the field. The clearing operation comes to an end. All remaining Russian infantry units in the area have been completely neutralized and their casualties evacuated. Immediately, a security perimeter is established. Watchtowers are erected, reconnaissance cameras deployed, and barbed wire placed to mark the new defensive line. With this phase completed, the region has passed fully under Ukrainian control. Military engineers begin fortifying positions, installing reinforced sandbags and embankments to guard against possible counterattacks. Reserve units are deployed to relieve frontline troops, and routine patrols are coordinated to ensure continuous vigilance. The victory takes on even greater significance when considering the context of recent weeks. Since the start of Russian offensives, armored convoys had attempted to break through the front line multiple times. Tanks and fighting vehicles were sent one after another in an effort to exploit gaps in Ukrainian defenses. However, local intelligence and anticipation of each move, backed by real-time data from drone units and precision artillery, allowed Ukrainian troops to regroup quickly and respond in a coordinated manner. Especially in critical sectors around Donetsk and Luhansk, where open terrain favored armored maneuvers, the Ukrainian defense stood firm, preventing any collapse of the front and proving that the combination of planning, training, and technology can repel even the most intense assaults from a well-equipped adversary. The operational phase in this region shows no signs of pause. For weeks and months, frontline positions have been the stage of heavy artillery bombardments that shook the ground, followed by precise tactical drone strikes aimed at disrupting enemy supply lines. Faced with this sustained siege, Russian units, aware of Ukrainian fire superiority, retreat into forested areas and small settlements, where dense terrain offers opportunities for ambushes and improvised shelter. However, the withdrawal strategy only prolongs the pressure, as Ukrainian reconnaissance drones patrol the area 24 hours a day. Equipped with high-resolution cameras and infrared sensors, these UAVs fly over open fronts and narrow back roads, detecting every movement or residual heat source. Thus, even the most discreet elements, ammunition hidden in a forest clearing, light vehicles abandoned on rural paths, or small columns of soldiers marching in silence, are exposed and turned into targets for artillery or remotely triggered mines. As Russian troops begin their retreat with fragmented columns and escape routes known to the adversary, they often lose the support of their logistical convoys. Supply trucks, camouflaged in the undergrowth, are forced to divert and sometimes get trapped in bottlenecks. This interrupts the flow of fuel and spare parts, crucial for the mobility of tanks and personnel carriers. Furthermore, the breakdown of the chain of command, due to intercepted communications or the loss of liaison officers, leads to entire groups being isolated, without clear orders or evacuation routes. In this scenario, Ukrainian rapid reaction units mobilize to neutralize these isolated resistance pockets. Armed with indirect fire artillery, portable anti-tank missiles, and light infantry squads, they cut off escape routes and subject dispersed groups to concentrated fire. At the same time, swarms of FPV drones launch small explosive charges on makeshift bunkers or precarious shelters in abandoned villages, preventing Russian soldiers from reorganizing a coherent defense. This coordinated action minimizes collateral casualties and accelerates the collapse of enemy positions. The result goes beyond merely liberating terrain. By dismantling retreating convoys and neutralizing isolated resistance points, a security belt is built that prevents new attack attempts. Every cleared area becomes Ukrainian-controlled ground, where multiple observation posts are established and existing trenches reinforced with anti-tank obstacles and motion sensors. In this way, any future enemy advance would face physical barriers and constant aerial surveillance. Meanwhile, civilians play an essential role in this defensive scheme. Residents of nearby towns help organize supply lines for the troops. They provide food, blankets, and fuel at safe points, assist in recovering the wounded, and offer alternate routes for reinforcements. Volunteer groups and territorial defense units, composed partly of reservists and trained civilians, patrol secondary roads and monitor communications, alerting of any unauthorized movement. Ultimately, this campaign demonstrates that, for Ukraine, the confrontation is not merely a military clash, but a collective effort involving tactics, technology, and social infrastructure. The combination of precision artillery, control of unmanned airspace, and civilian resilience has turned what could have been a simple enemy withdrawal into a planned disintegration of its forces. Every convoy dismantled and every cleared position reinforces not only territorial security, but also the national conviction that independence and freedom are defended through the union of all state and societal capabilities. It is also a guarantee of existence, independence, and freedom. Today, with silenced engines on the front line, destroyed tanks, and repelled armored units, the Ukrainian people are given renewed hope. Every destroyed convoy, every cleared position once again frustrates the invaders' plans.